Mention Tony Blair to my mum and she would go from, she's a wonderful woman, wonderful lady, kind, sweet, caring, just the most beautiful human being. Right? But mention the name Tony Blair and she would transform into a fire-breathing dragon. Us, her children, I mean, we used to find it quite amusing, and I still do when I look back at some of the situations we were in where someone mentioned that they perhaps liked Tony Blair. Whoa. My poor dad, he would go take my mum with him to like a work sort of dinner party, and they'd all be sitting round the table and someone mentions Tony Blair. Well, my mum, she would literally in her dragon state burn their heads off, the lot of them. Witnesses, anyone. And my dad would be sitting there going, okay. She had such a strong reaction to Tony Blair. I mean, it's one of the things I love about my mum is, I mean, she can't speak now, sadly, but her passion, I loved her passion, yeah? I loved her fieriness and the fact that she was prepared to go all out for something she believed in. I loved that in her, yeah? And I love it in other people too. I'm not bothered by a bit of fiery. But however, what she was trying to do was to convey to others her absolute dislike of Tony Blair. Yeah, and why she didn't like, what she thought he had done wrong. But unfortunately, because she acted with such a strong emotional reaction, no one would come away from that dinner party saying, yes, she made some very valid points about Tony Blair, made me think about things in a different way. They would just be saying, gosh, Paul's got his hands full with that one. Yeah? Because they would just be remembering her reaction. Yeah? I mean, I love you, Mum, I love you. And I love your fieriness. But it highlights, it highlights how how we react to things. So what we really want to achieve is we don't want to be a victim of our emotions. We want to be a master. So in those scenarios, we can master our emotions. Now, if Mum had, for example, rather than breathed fire at the mention of Tony Blair and paused, taken a deep breath in and said, I can tell you a few things about Tony Blair that might change your mind. Very calmly. She probably would have had them hooked. Yeah? And then she could have calmly and without judgment, because sometimes when we're angry, I never forget when I first became a vegan, okay, and very passionate, about being a vegan. I remember taking my mum to London to a big vegan festival. And, I was so passionate. Yeah, so passionate about it. But I noticed on the forums, or whenever there was a debate online about veganism, people would be saying that vegans were like crazy people and they just like, and I sort of understood why, because not all, I'm not saying all, never all, but some vegans on there, they would be judging people because they ate meat, they consumed dairy. Yes, but don't you realize you're so because you're doing this and this and this. So they were making their points which were valid, but they were making them out of judgment and out of anger and towards the non-vegans. Now, of course, if someone is angry at you and someone's verbally attacking you, your natural reaction is to fight back. What would have been so much more effective, which of course other vegans did too, but would just be very calmly and very politely, with no judgment to others, explain their points about why they have become vegan. So, I have a lady who lives a few doors down. I live in Maisonettes. And a few years ago, when I had my other dog, Tasha, she was a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh. She would go to the toilet out the front, and obviously I would always pick up her mess. But there is a lady, and if Tasha decided to go to the toilet anywhere near her vicinity, so sort of under her window, this lady would get really cross. Really cross. Now, anyone who has a dog will probably see that when dogs decide they want to go to the toilet, they don't just sort of go, right, I'm going to the toilet now. I don't know what quite is going on, but they sniff over here and they sniff over there, and whatever smells they don't like, I don't know, but they're very particular about where they are going to take their position. And Tasha was also very particular about where she was going to take her position, and her favoured position was near this woman's window. And I remember one day, Tasha was doing her thing, and the woman opened the window, screaming down at me about Tasha going to the toilet. Now, in the past, I would have reacted. My dog's just going to the toilet, I'm picking it up. I have reacted like that before in the past. But being the calmer me, I just showed her the poo bag, smiled, picked up the poo and disposed of it. But that woman was not happy, okay? She came knocking at my door with her husband in tow. I opened the door and all of a sudden this small little woman is screaming at me about my dog going to the toilet. And I can't help it. My dog needs to open her bowels. It's healthy. We all do it. And she was mad. She was calling me all the names under the sun. And I kept very calm. And her poor husband, who's sort of a little bit sort of passive, was in the background looking very worried. Now, in a situation like that, what I often do is I zoom out, okay? I zoom out like I'm up in the galaxy, up in the stars, and I look down and there's this tiny woman going, and this other woman at the door sort of like, huh? Yeah, and I see the situation for what it is. And when you zoom out, and there's so many other things going on in the world, there's wars, there's floods, there's hurricanes, there's goodness knows what, there's so many things happening in this world, and in this tiny little minuscule portion of the world, this little, not even a dot, there's this woman freaking out about a dog going to the toilet. And it makes you see the ridiculousness of it. Yeah? So that, I find, is a really helpful tool when in a situation where you're feeling, is to see the ridiculousness of it. Is it really important? Does it really matter? Fortunately, that day I was in a calm mood, and I kind of thought, you know what? I bet that woman, the reason she's shouting at me is because she's actually so frustrated with her husband, who, bless him, but he was sort of, the most passive person you've ever seen. And I could imagine the scenario of them up in their flat and her turning to him and saying, that terrible woman and her dog, go and say something to her. And him sort of going, no. And her anger and her frustration was at him. Come on, be the man I want you to be. Take charge. I'm upset. I want you to go down and sort this out for me because I'm upset and I'm your wife and I want you to be a man. Yeah? That's where the anger came from. So her standing at my door and shouting at me had nothing to do with the fact that my dog had been to the toilet under her window. Yeah? So that's also something to bear in mind. People often display their anger and it's mischanneled. It's gone, what, they're angry about this, but they get angry at that. Yeah? I mean, teenagers, oh my goodness, teenagers. I have one of those. Yeah? They are the most reactive people in the world. My daughter will come home from school and I'll say to her very calmly, I'm like, calm, mum, or I try to be anyway. Darling, don't just drop your coat on the floor. Can you just hang it up, please? You always having a go at me. You're always la 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 la. And I'm just sort of like, well, I just asked you to hang your coat up. Teenagers are so reactive, but we forgive them because they're teenagers. We've all been teenagers. But we don't want to be teenagers when we're 40, 50, 60, do we? Yeah, we want to level up a little bit. So, in situations that are highly charged and highly emotional, number one, breathe. Pause. Remember that this situation could turn out in your mind either terrible if you react really emotionally, or you could master the situation. And So therefore, when we say this is terrible, this has happened, is it that it was terrible, or is it how we reacted to the situation that happened? Yeah, because if you can master your emotions, if you can keep calm, and if you can present the facts in a calm, measured way, then the outcome is quite likely to be very different to the outcome if you become like a fire-breathing dragon. Yeah. So it's just something worth thinking about when we stumble through life, as we all do. Yeah, these terrible days, these terrible situations, because this happened and that happened. Reflect on it and think, had I reacted differently, would that have been such a terrible day? Anyway, that's it for me. I'm just doing a short one today because, yeah, I am. It's been 30 days of me being on YouTube. My crochet channel is actually just, I'm not doing anything on that at the moment. My mum has gone into hospital, truth be told, and that's where I'm heading now. So I am just trying, unforeseen circumstance, and I want to post here because I post daily and I don't want to miss that. But for now, I'm just having to not beat myself up about the fact that my crochet channel just has to stay on simmer until things get a bit better. Yeah, but that's it for now. I have to go. Wishing you all so much love, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!